Hi, Luca. Today I have a special guest, my good friend Luca Lampariello, and we're going to talk about new stuff. ChatGPT, AI, artificial intelligence, all the different ways that technology is going to affect language learning. Luca, good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Nice to see you, Steve, as always. Thanks for the invitation.
Now, you being the globetrotter that you are, where do we find you?
It's just
today?
my place in Rome, it's just my simple place in Rome here. I'm going to be here for a little bit, and then I'm going to be traveling quite a lot this summer.
So, we hear these buzzwords, ChatGPT, AI, I don't know, Web 3.0, and then on the other hand, you hear these people saying, well, technology is going to make it unnecessary to learn languages. Where do you stand on all this stuff? Have you used any of it, or are you using aspects of artificial intelligence in your language learning?
So I'm using, as you are using, like the internet in general, and more specifically, if you ask me specifically about artificial intelligence tools, I think at the end of the day, we've been using them for a long time. Let me give you an example of that. Google Translate or DeepL, or all these systems where you can, for example, LingQ does that as well. You just click on a word. Behind that, there's algorithms that process the information and transforms that information from one language to the other. So we've been using that, apart from ChatGPT, which is the new thing, but we've been using technology and artificial intelligence for a long time. Now, let me tell you this. As you yourself say in a lot of videos, this is the golden era of language learning. Nothing never in modern history have his language learning become so easy to actually do, right? So
absolutely.
So I believe that technology is facilitating the acquisition of any language. Nowadays we have a wealth of possibilities, but we also have to take into account that we still learn with our brain. Whatever happens when it comes to language learning happens here in our head. So I think one thing we have to take into account is, I think we have to educate ourselves and also educate the next generation to use the tools that we have for our benefit, because the internet and also the artificial intelligence has pros and cons like everything. So it's up to us to understand how to use it, to learn languages better and in general to have a better life.
Absolutely, and we'll get into ChatGPT, but I mean, text-to-speech obviously is an application of artificial intelligence. And I'm on Link. If I click on a word, I can hear it. Artificial voice. I wouldn't use that for any long period of text, but if I come across a word in Arabic and I can't figure out how to pronounce it, I just click on it and I hear it. So text-to-speech. Dictation. We can use dictation now on our various devices. Also, just to find stuff on the internet, find content. Also, I get podcast in the language I'm learning, and I'll put it on an automatic transcription website to get a transcript. It's 90%. It's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. Otherwise, there's just too many words there that I don't know. There's all kinds of, and getting back to what you said about this being the golden age. 50 years ago, before you were born, I would be scouring the bookstores to find a book which maybe had a glossary behind each chapter so that I could possibly read this thing in Chinese. And every 2 weeks or month, I'd go back to the bookstores hoping there was something new. This was in Hong Kong. And now you don't have to do that. You just find whatever you want on the internet.
Agreed. That reminds me of myself when I was trying to learn English back in the day, or French, or even Dutch. And that was almost 30 years ago, 25 years ago, and it was a different world. And I also remember 15 years ago when I started learning Chinese, even if I use LingQ, I have to thank you for creating LingQ, because it's just, I almost learned Chinese exclusively through that. Now, the thing is, when I was using, I first used Asimil to get a foundation, but then I used exclusively LingQ. Now, the thing that happened back then is that I was not using I was not using, you can click and you can see words. What I was doing is I was also printing the scripts, and then I had this small vocabulary, and I was trying to painstakingly painstakingly understand everything, which was a very laborious process. Nowadays, you can get you can go on Link, or you can just download stuff and you can translate it, and you can have an artificial, a voice read it if you want it in another language. It's amazing what we can do nowadays. So
absolutely amazing.
It's mind blowing. I think that a lot of people do not still know. I still believe that, and I strongly believe that we have, as educators, we have to help people understand how to use these tools. Because again, I've been, for example, I was in Bergamo. I was invited in Bergamo in northern Italy, and I talked to hundreds and hundreds of students, and they have amazing tools, but most of the time, unfortunately, because I saw it firsthand and I talked to some of them, most of the time, the time they spend, not all of them, of course, those who want to learn, they will learn, but a lot of them are sucked in this rabbit hole of Instagram, of TikTok, and if I could go back to when I was 15, I would learn all the time with these tools. It would be amazing. So again, there's always a dark side to things. It's like nowadays we have a lot of tools, a lot of possibilities, a lot of language learning materials, for example, but people still get stuck in the paradox of choice. What do I choose? They're still not sure. And when it comes to tools, they don't know how to use them. There's a word that I recently stumbled upon in a French newspaper. It was infobesity or something like that. There's too much information out there, So, and going back to what you were saying before, going back to what you were saying before about using, using technology, I've been experimenting with this. There's so many things you can actually do with a combination of text, audio, and translation, and also platforms that can help you decipher the meaning of words. So it's just mind-blowing, and has the way I'm learning languages is speeding up because of this. And I see that the people who use them to their own benefit, they know how to learn, they're going to be the winners of tomorrow, so to speak.
Right. Now, I think there's sort of two types of learners. The people who aren't necessarily as keen as we are. And I think for those people, some of the things that Duolingo has introduced is a certain level of gamification. I know now at LingQ we've got this sentence review where we have these matching pairs, or you have to reassemble a sentence. And I think that, I'm not sure because I'm not involved in the development, but I think we stole that idea from Duolingo, although we deal with actual meaningful sentences. But you have to get people engaged at some level. So eventually, of course, we want to be listening to 15-minute podcasts with transcript, looking up words, and we're into meaty stuff. But initially, to get people engaged, maybe the Instagram or the Duolingo or some of those things are good for giving people sort of instant sense of achievement, instant, short-term gratification that gets them committed to learning languages. Would you agree?
I agree and disagree at the same time, meaning that I honestly think, to put it in Stephen Krashen's word, I know we both appreciate Stephen Krashen, things like apps like Duolingo. Now, I heard that it improved, but I'm not just talking about Duolingo. Just think about flashcards or things that you do that maybe create that sense of give you that shot of dopamine and you think, okay, I've done that. The reality though is that these are not really acquisition rich, it's not acquisition rich environment. What do I mean by that is that if you read a text, just to give an example, and you have to ask these terrible questions about what that text means, right? Or you have to use flashcards. You can do that if you want to, but that is really poor in terms of acquiring a language. So again,
Fully agree.
So the problem nowadays is that everybody's got little time, right, quote unquote. And if you have 1 hour a day, right, imagine you have a slot of 30 minutes. If you spend 25 minutes toying with Duolingo and then you have 5 minutes to listen to a podcast, then your language learning is going downhill. So I think we should actually flip the perspective and on its side and say, okay, well, let's do it this way. If Duolingo can help you, for example, get engaged a little bit, you can use it maybe at the beginning for 5 minutes to get into the session, your language learning session. But then again, call me old-fashioned, but I believe that fundamentally language learning happens first subconsciously, and then when we understand messages and when we engage in stuff that is interesting and content rich. And by content rich, I mean people talking, for example, in a podcast.
Right.
That is great. That is one of the things I recommend. It's one simple rule. Listen to people engaging in conversations. This is how I learned Chinese. I was on LingQ, and these guys were talking about super interesting stuff. The earthquake that happened in, I don't remember, Guangzhou, or super interesting stuff. So I was thinking, this is what I want to do. It's like engaging with people, talking, instead of playing with flashcards or toying with Duolingo and everything else. So again, if the people listening to us want to use flashcards because they got this dopamine shot, they want to do Duolingo, that's fine. But that should be 5% of the time that you spend every day on language learning. This is my take, of course, but everybody is different.
I agree. And sometimes if it's structured properly, that it's part of say a 15-minute interesting podcast, fully accurately transcribed, but you're able to go into some of those sentences. And it's also with the thing like matching pairs where you're not getting it wrong. It's very easy. It's either right or you can try again kind of thing. Easy, no failure, slight effort at getting at some of the details. But I agree with you, it's 5-10%. That gives me a chance to segue into the subject of ChatGPT. So you're making the point that we want to engage. I think this is important, even if we're speaking or writing to people, we want to engage with the language in high resonance situations. So ChatGPT, it's called the generational pre-trained text, I think. So what it is, it only deals with text. So you can't talk to GPT, right? But you can generate text. So I did a variety of things, experimenting with it. First of all, I asked ChatGPT how it applies to language learning. So, by the way, you can find ChatGPT on the internet. It's not an app, but you basically, keep that website on your, top of your screen there. You can go there anytime you want and ask a question. So, first question I asked was, how does it apply to language learning? And they basically said, well, you can chat with the GPT, and so you can have a conversation. Not something I would do. I'm not interested in having a conversation with a machine. And you can't speak to it. You can only type because it's text-based. I mean, you can, record it, create text with a dictation software somewhere else, but ChatGPT won't do it. So then the second thing they said, it can correct your mistakes. So you send in your message in whatever you're studying, Urdu, and back it comes corrected. Maybe the only application I see is if I've got slightly inaccurate transcripts of something, I'll send it there. They can correct it, put in punctuation. Not a big one. The third one was it can provide you with explanations or examples of grammar. So I went in and I said, give me 10 examples of, the instrumental case in Russian. It right away gives you 10 examples, 2 of which were wrong. But I'm assuming they'll get better, right? I said, what are the 10 basic grammar principles in Spanish? And one of them, they gave me 10. Of course, ser and estar is there. Basic, you can get it wrong, it doesn't matter, really, for communication. But one of them was, you have to use the personal pronoun with the verb. That's wrong in Spanish. And then, to me, the biggest one is generation of learning content. Like we're thinking for LingQ, we might simplify something that's very difficult so that a learner can have a first pass through something that's been simplified and then go at it a second time with more words that he has to learn, or she. Or you say, tell me a story. You can go to ChatGPT and say, create a story using high frequency vocabulary that talks about a fisherman. And they'll produce a story in whatever language, in Italian. And then you can go in there and use that as learning material. So just a quick summary. Those were the 4 things that they recommended. And what's your reaction to where do you think the greatest application might be?
So I used it kind of the way you used it, or the way they suggested it. I've been toying with it a little bit, but my colleague is doing a lot of research into figuring out how to do this. Also, not just for language learning, but also for production of content. For example, for writing stuff that we want to produce. Also for YouTube videos. There's a variety of ways in which you can use it. Specifically speaking about language learning, I believe that one thing that would be very beneficial is, again, the creation of content. I tried it with Serbian. I've been learning Serbian for a year now. And I said something like, I gave him this, create a story of an Italian guy charging to Serbia and fall in love with a Serbian girl, right? And you have to use 350 words. So it created a story. And that's fine. I've been toying it with it. I think I had this very interesting conversation with another YouTuber who's a very good friend of mine, Rocky, and we talked about the fact that the ChatGPT it can be a great tool, but it doesn't have to be a substitute, a replacement for the way we think. Like if we and how we think. If we rely too much on machines, then we run the risk of not thinking anymore. That's the first thing. And when it comes to language learning, I got to tell you the truth. There's so much content out there, and you can create your own content even without ChatGPT. That I haven't used it that much. I might use it, but not necessarily for language learning, but for other things. It might facilitate some tasks like writing some articles, can give me ideas. But the idea for me is always, okay, give me some ideas, then I'm gonna develop them. So I never rely, not even 50%. I just, be it content creation, language learning, or whatnot. Call me old-fashioned, I'm still like kind of a little bit resistant sometimes. You. So when it comes to, there's a revolution coming about, I'm always say, okay, well, just give me a second, right? I always rely on some very solid tools that I believe are solid tools. I think it will change a lot of things, ChatGPT, but I believe that language learning still happens here, and I think the whole still thinking with your own head and using your head for problem solving, for content creation. Like everybody's talking about GPT nowadays, but the reality is that with the tools we now have, with the other tools that the internet provides and technology provides in general, we can do so many things when it comes to content creation and language learning. So ChatGPT might be at the top of the pyramid in the sense that if you want to use it, that's fine, but I'm not in a rush to use it because I'm very comfortable the way I use the tools I already have at my disposal to learn languages. This is just my take, of course. Everybody has a different
I agree with you. If I go back to your example of a podcast discussion about an earthquake in China and people, real live voices and real people, that is, that grabs you. That's high resonance. So, and if you told ChatGPT to create a story about an earthquake in China, I mean, how interesting is that? It's not authentic. It's not real. On the other hand, if you had to create a press release on something, you might go to ChatGPT. Again, I'm not sure that you wouldn't be further ahead to use your own imagination to create a press release, that really meant something to you. And also in terms of grammar, I mean, I asked ChatGPT for examples of, let's say, the instrumental case. If I Google instrumental case in Russian, I'm going to get so many different websites with explanations and examples which are actually produced by people and that are correct. So I don't have to question whether this thing from ChatGPT is correct or not. So, but it's early days. And I was learning Korean, and I downloaded an article from Jungang Ilbo or somewhere, and they were talking about ChatGPT and Naver in Korea that's coming up with theirs, and the Chinese and Bing, and so there's a lot of competition now. And the other thing too is we're getting ChatGPT free of charge. There's an enormous investment in computing power, so it's not going to be free going forward. So it's a bit of a flashy object right now, and there could be applications, but we'll have to wait and see. I agree with you. Technology favors the language learner. It's not going to make it unnecessary to learn languages. I think that's kind of a conclusion. We don't know how we're going to use each individual example of technology, but technology is coming our way. It's bringing language learning closer to us. I think that's kind of a conclusion in my view. What do you say?
Agreed. I think, again, I have two points. The first thing is that the human being, sometimes people, when they tell me, why you're learning languages in 20 years, you will not need to learn languages anymore. I think it's BS, pardon my French, in the sense that human beings have a desire to communicate. So you cannot replace a machine with the fact that you can speak directly with a human being by voice. That's the
Right.
first thing. And the second
Right.
important thing is that, yes, of course, technology is going to change the world. The world is changing very fast. Technology is like stepping
Right.
up, so to speak. But the reality is that I believe that we still have to rely on our brain and use the tools in a savvy way. Otherwise, technology is going to devour us. I really like a quote. I don't remember exactly who said that, but when I read it, it really stuck with me. It said, screens devour your time while books feed your mind, you know? So you have...
Very good, very good.
Of course, I like, we spend a lot of time in front of a screen, whether we want it or not, but when I read a book, the thing that happens is that it really stimulates my imagination. And also, when I'm in front of a screen, time changes. Like you can spend 4 hours watching YouTube stuff, and then 4 hours go by and you realize, oh, I've spent 4 hours doing that. While you're reading a book, your brain is working so much that, and your imagination, it stimulates your imagination, that really you feel like it's food for your mind. So I always say screens devour your mind while books feed it. And you have to find a balance. It's difficult nowadays not to spend time in front of a screen. We're doing it right now to talk, but I believe that a savvy combination of I like saying that books are an incredible technology back in the day when they were invented. It's an amazing technology that's still nowadays...
That killer app.
It's a killer...
Yep, reading is the killer app.
Absolutely. Reading is...
I agree with you.
Like, really, it's reading, listening, and listening. This can work wonders for everyone. So, again... to conclude is just use all the tools that you have, whether they're digital or not digital, and use your head, because this is how we live our life in a savvy, wise way, you know, no matter the technology.
Absolutely. Thank you, Luca. And by the way, we're also going to have a conversation on Luca's channel. I'm going to leave a link to Luca's channel, and we'll be talking about something quite different. So you won't be having to hear a rehash of what we just had right now. Thank you.
Yes.
And
Thank
look forward to speaking with you further. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Steve. Thank you.